Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be looking ahead to the three big races from each day at the 2022 Cheltenham Festival and giving you my selection so far and how the markets are looking ahead of the three main novice hurdles, chases and the three big grade ones on the day. So hopefully you might find a couple of doubles and trebles from my tips today, as I have a couple of strong fancies for each race now, and I do have my favourites for a lot of the races. So I'll start with this Supreme on day one. It's looking like it's going to be one of the hottest races throughout the whole week. I'm very excited to see what happens here. Because Constitution Hill's best price 9-4 for the race. Dysart Dynamo's 7-2 best price, and John Bond's around 4-1 now. So I'll start with my selections, and my selection is definitely Constitution Hill. Very keen on this horse. He just looks like an absolute monster. He does everything correct. He travels, jumps, and he just is a very strong stayer at the trip, which you need to be in a Supreme as they go so fast the whole way round. So definitely Constitution Hill is my selection for the race. Both his races at Sandown, he just visually just like wowed me, and I think your eyes actually are a very good judge. That sounds stupid, but you shouldn't read too much into clock the times of race and stuff. I think, and if your eyes tell you and you think he's a really good horse, I think you should normally stick with that. And so that's my opinion on Constitution Hill. I think he's going to be very hard to beat. I think the race will set up very well for him. I think Dysart Dynamo, he'll just go out in front. He'll got a very strong pace, and I would be surprised if Nico just didn't sit in behind him and just track him the whole way, and hopefully he can pounce him up the straight. Dysart Dynamo looks a very, very classy horse as well. Super talented. He looked very good the last day at Punchestown. I just feel like he will set the race up perfectly for Constitution Hill's come from slightly off the pace, and that's why I'd probably stick with Constitution Hill for the race. John Bond ran yesterday at Haydock. He really did not impress me at all. He hung left, and Aidan Coleman said that was because he was lonely in front. I don't think he was. Just he didn't seem keen to go past the horses. He looked like he might even need a wind optimizer or something. Something didn't seem right to me about him, and his performance definitely wasn't as good as the other two main rivals in the market. So I definitely would be reverse forecasting Constitution Hill and Dysart Dynamo for the race, as I think those two are the two to beat. And I just think John Bond he's not quite as good as the other two, I don't think. And I think that will prove on the day. So I do think Constitution Hill would be my selection to win the race, and Dysart Dynamo to come second. Right, the race after the Arkle, the 2 mile chase, Fernie Hollow's best price 11-10 for the race. And then you have Blue Lord, who's around 5-1 second favourite, with Edward Stone, who's around the same sort of price as Blue Lord. So I think Fernie Hollow will win the race. I just think he has that slight bit of class over the others. And Willie Mullins' favourites in the race are very hard to beat, and he has a terrific record. As shown by Footpad, Duvan, they all go in. The short price favourites of his always tend to win the race. So I do think that's why Fernie Hollow will probably do the same thing. He was very impressive last day at Leopardstown, beating Riviere de Tel, giving her nearly a stone in weight, and she won't get that weight this time round. So just think Fernie Hollow, he's the horse to beat. They will have to beat, and it's going to be tough for that to happen. I have backed Blue Lord 10-1 each way. He's now 5-1 obviously, but I did get him at 10s. I just think he's the each way alternative player. Just feel he would have finished a clear second in Supreme last year. He's definitely a lot better chase than hurdler. He jumps very well, travels, settles a lot better over fences. I think at 10-1, if something was to go wrong with Fernie Hollow, I think he'd be there to pick up the pieces. So those two would be, that's how I'd play the race. I'd probably back Fernie Hollow to win and Blue Lord each way, and you can maybe get a forecast in there or something. But I think Blue Lord is probably the main danger of Fernie Hollow. I can't see Edward Stone getting on it. He just doesn't seem to have that class edge. He was nowhere near as good as hurdler as the other two. So I just feel like Blue Lord and Fernie Hollow are quite a lot clear of Edward Stone, even though Edward Stone's had a terrific season. I'm a big fan of his. But I do think Blue Lord and Fernie Hollow will be the ones fighting out, with Fernie Hollow just coming out top. Now obviously the champion hurdle on day one, Honeysuckle, is 8-11 best prize. She'll win. She should go and win the Irish champion hurdle in a couple of weeks as well on the way there. There's no horse that I think can come near her. Appreciate it. If he was at his best, he could maybe challenge her, but he's still got to improve a lot. Despite winning the Supreme like he did last year, he still has quite a few lengths to make up on her. if you went on times of both the Supreme and Channel Hurdle last year. He's had a really bad preparation as well, which wouldn't help. And to beat Honeysuckle, you've got to be spot on, I think. So I do think she's going to be difficult to beat. She won't be beaten. I think it's simple as that. And I don't really see a point in playing each way alternative in the market. You could have Charge or something, but it's a bit risky because they're all much of muchness in behind her. So I'd just probably stick to her and chuck her in trebles and accumulators probably for the day. Now I'll move on to the day 2 now, the Ballymore. It's quite an open race, I think, still. So Gerhard looks like he will probably go for the Ballymore now. Dysart's going to go to Supreme. So Gerhard's around 4-1 right now. He will be tough to beat if he turns up, I would have thought. He had a promising race in his novice hurdle. If you want a bit of a bigger price, I'll take a gamble on this because he might not turn up for the race. But Ginto is around 9-1 best price for the Ballymore. Now, he won the Lawless and Ace at the start of this month. He won that quite well in the end. And the last 2 winners that were obviously Envoy Allen and Bob Bollinger, who then went on to win the Ballymore. Now, I think Gordon Elliott would be quite nuts to not send to the Ballymore because it's a proven route for the Ballymore winners. And he trained Envoy Allen to do it. So I think he's actually more likely than people are thinking to go to the Ballymore. He does jump slightly to the right, but he's a very strong stayer. And I just think the Ballymore could be a slightly weaker race this year than usual. I wouldn't be surprised if Ginto turned up in the Ballymore, and he could be looking a nice price at 9-1 right now. If he turns up on day, I reckon he'll be near a 4-1 or something. Although you do have he's favourite for the Albert Bartlett as well. He's 5-1 for that race, so you are taking that risk. But even you could get a non-run no bet somewhere with slightly lower odds, but you can get 9-1 about him right now. So I don't really have a hugely strong selection on the race, but I do think Ginto is an interesting horse for the race. But Sir Gerhard will obviously go favourite if he turned up. But it's quite an open looking race, and there's still stuff to happen in that race. With even Nicky Henson had Walking on the Air come out and win the other day at Newbury, very impressive, and now 10-1 for the race. So there still will be a few horses to come out, we'll imagine, for the race. So it's still looking quite open, but Ginto maybe is looking interesting each way angle if he turned up. The Festival Novice Chase after that, Galloping des Champs is best price 7-4 favourite. And Braceman's Game is around 7-2, I think you can get for him. But I'm a massive fan of Galloping des Champs. After he won the Martin Pipe last year, he went straight to my track. I backed him at Punchdown. He bolted up in the Grade 1, 3 miles over hurdles. He then absolutely bolted up at Leopardstown over 2 mile 5, I think it was, in his Novice Chase. Mightily impressive. You can't fault him. I just think Cheltenham will suit him more than Braceman Game. Braceman Game has been very impressive. I backed him last time at Kempton as well, and I'm a big fan of his. I just think Galloping des Champs is going to be coming here fresher, and this has been his main target for a while, whereas Braceman Game, Nichols, doesn't have too good a record at Cheltenham when compared to Mullins and Henderson, for example. So Galloping des Champs will be hard to beat, I think, at 7-4. He's definitely a horse that you should be chucking in doubles and trebles, as that's where the value is. If you're not a huge, massive stake, if you don't stake much in your bets, then he's a great horse to put in your doubles and trebles because he'll just be very hard to beat, I would have thought. And he'll definitely turn up here over the Marsh Novice Chase, or the Turners, it's now called the 2.5 mile Novice Chase. People are talking rubbish when they say Galloping Johnson will go there. He will go for the Festival Novice Chase. It's simple as that. Don't overcomplicate it, and he will probably win the race, even though it could be quite a competitive heat. There's no point really. I don't see the point back in an outsider. He's favourite for next year's Gold Cup, which shows you the regard they hold him in, and he should just win the race. But I think Braceman Game will turn up at Cheltenham. I just feel like he's just going to bump into Galloping des Champs, who will probably just outstay him, I would have thought. Now, I was lucky enough to be at Ascot yesterday to watch Carrott's House. That was a phenomenal race. I was on Shishkin, I love him, big fan of his, and the atmosphere was absolutely electric when he, after the last, and when he walked down the tunnel to the back into Parade Ring, the crowd was insane. It was just an incredible day to be at. Very lucky to be there. Shishkin, I never thought he was travelling really at the start of this race. Everything went right for Energumene. He just jumped perfectly, travelled. He didn't do anything wrong in Energumene, whereas Shishkin really badly pecked the landing at the 5th. I never thought he travelled well. He jumped slightly to his left, so Ascot wouldn't suit him as much as Cheltenham would. And he still managed to win by just over a length in the end, which is, I thought it was a little bit snug in the way you could argue. It wasn't a nose, it was actually a length, and he still had to make up. He was like at least 4 lengths down at the last. So I reckon he's showed he's such a strong stayer. He's such a similar mould to Altior. He just races pretty much identically to how Altior would. So I do think Shishkin, I don't really see how Energumene can reverse form with him in the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. Be an unbelievable matchup again. Because if they go quicker, Energumene out front, Energumene has to front run, and if Paul goes quicker, it'll just set it up for Shishkin, who'll come from off the pace again. And if he goes slower, then I think Shishkin's just a slightly bit quicker horse than him. So I don't really see, if Shishkin runs up to that sort of standard every time, I struggle to see how Energumene can get his revenge on Shishkin. Nico's just brilliant in the Champion Chase. Mullins has never won it as well, so it's a race that just eludes him. I just think Nicky is so good with his 2-mile chases that Shishkin will just do it again. Now, people will be thinking, have they had too much hard race for the Cheltenham Festival after yesterday? But they didn't look like they killed each other in the race. They both came back in the podium. They didn't look knackered, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. Although it will leave a slight mark, but they have plenty of time to get over it. And it's not like an Altior Surname race where they both just killed each other. They were both fit going to race, and I just feel like it was a great spectacle for racing, and I just think Shishkin will come out on top again. Despite he's now best, I think he's around 4 to 6 you can get for him, maybe a little bit shorter now for Champion Chase, and Energumene's around 3 to 1. I struggle to see how Energumene reverse form. Do think they will finish 1-2 again in Champion Chase. They are way clear of any other 2-mile chases, I would have thought. So maybe forecast them Shishkin to beat Energumene, but I struggle to see how Energumene reverse form. So I'm a massive fan for Shishkin. I think he's probably the bank of the whole festival. It's just not a lot went right for him yesterday, and he still managed to win. That's what champions do. So he's just great, and I just can't see him getting beat. The day 3 of the festival, the Turner's Novice Chase, Bob's Ollinger's 11 to 10 favourite, best price. Now, since he won the Ballymore last year, I've been all over him for the Turners. I backed him at 5 to 1, 3 to 1, and now he's 11 to 10. He was my horse to take out the festival last year. He ran the other day at Punchtown, I think it was, and he jumped a lot better. He made a nice shape over his fences. And although he looked like he might have been slightly in trouble turning in against Capodanno, he still beat that horse very well in the end. He didn't have too much of a hard time. He just proved his well-being. His engine is electric. He's just such a powerful horse. And although he doesn't make up ground over his fences, he doesn't need to. His engine's too good for all of his rivals. And there's not a lot in the Turners that I think can actually come near him. Long Presse, who's been very good this year, can't deny that. He's around 7, 8 to 1. At the end of the day, I think he's a handicapper. Like, he's only won handicaps, whereas Bob's won the Ballymore. He's just a grade 1 horse, so they just have that slight edge. There's that class angle difference between the two horses. I don't see a lot of others coming to challenge him really either. Like, even Mullins lot, like Horton Colours, if they turn up. Bob's his engine's too good. He's safe over his fences, so I wouldn't think he's gonna fall or something like that. I wouldn't be thinking like that. Though he's not been as impressive as some people would like him to be, the race is going to cut up quite a lot. We're thinking there's nothing will challenge him. He's 11 to 10. As I say, I've got him at much bigger prices, but another horse to chuck into accumulators. And these grade 1s, I know these are short prices, but if you'd backed these a while ago and watched on previous videos, then you would be sitting on nice Ante-Post bets. But they're now sort of bets putting doubles and trebles, and that's where you can get your value. But Bob is my main bet for the whole festival, and just think he won't get beat in my eyes, so I think he's a good one. Now, the Ryanair is an interesting race. I've backed 2 horses in this so far. So Allaho, I think he's the best 2.5 miler around. I don't think that's even questionable. He was lucky to win John Durkin, I think, and I'd actually backed a steering for launch that day, so I was a little bit gutted. But Allaho, he's running today actually. He's a 1 to 3 to beat Fakir Dudari, so he should do that. If he didn't, then he would be concerned for Ryanair. But Allaho, 7 to 4 favourite. He's going to be tough to beat. But if you're looking for a bit of a each way bet, I think St Caldos at 10 to 1 is the bet in the race. Now, and there's a lot being made of the ride he got in the King George by Gavin Sheen. I think it's a bit harsh what everyone's saying about it. It wasn't a good ride, but everyone makes mistakes, and Gavin just made a mistake that day. He's finished. He split Aputard and Min in the Ryanair a couple of years ago, which is a huge run looking back at it. He definitely has the class to it. He's great Cheltenham form. Nichols clearly got a tune out of him, and I think 2.5 miles is actually a great trip for him. I just don't think he quite stays 3 miles, so I think the Ryanair is perfect for him. He's 10-1, so I think he's a great price. They just hold on to him for a bit longer before pouncing late. I think he could go well. So those would be my 2 select bets for the race. Really, it's hard to have a little each run. St Caldov, Alaho's a safer selection, but if you want bigger price in St Caldov's at 10-1 would be my pick. Now the Stays Hurdle on day 3 could be a very interesting race. I think it is between the top 2 in the market as well. Classical Dreams are around 11-4, I think you get, and Champs 4-1. Now, Classical Dream, a lot was made of the start he got gifted at Leopardstown last time when he beat Florian Porter by a couple of lengths. Now, I was on Florian Porter that day. I thought he could have beaten him, but I'll hold my hands on. I don't even think Florian Porter would have won, even if Classical Dream didn't get gifted those lengths at the start. I think Classical Dream would always have beaten him. I think he would always have done enough in the run-in. Florian Porter's he's just not a genuine horse. He's hanging. He didn't want to go past Classical Dream that day. And I just find it hard to see how Florian Porter beats Classical Dream, and Classical Dream's beaten him every time they've raced against each other. I think Florian Porter is probably a clear third. I don't see a lot. Although he's not the most genuine, he's talented. I do think he's a clear third from the rest of the field. Champ's a very interesting horse. I'm not being his biggest fan. One of my friends, Barney, backed him for the Gold Cup was it last year, and I would have never done that, and he obviously pulled up after first. So it was quite funny to see that. But Champson, he's an interesting horse. He's obviously very talented. I just don't think he was a chaser. I think he's very good over hurdles. He travelled extremely well at Ascot last time over hurdles. I thought he did very well to win that race, and he did it really well in the end. I think 4-1 is actually a really good price. Classical Dreams, if you look at Ante-Post market, Classical Dreams is a very fragile horse still. So you've got a question mark whether he even will make it to Cheltenham. He should do. There's no reason to think he can't, but he's still a more fragile horse than lots of others. Nicky's confirmed that he'll go stayers now. So I think 4-1 is a very fair price. I think it's between 2 of them. I think they'll be very close to each other. I just think it's very hard to split them, to be fair. So it sort of comes down to who you prefer, Nicky or Willie as well, which trainers you prefer for the race. Mullins has a very good record for the stayers. So maybe that slight goes the angle to Classical Dream, but I probably wouldn't be betting on him Ante-Post really. But those 2 I think are well clear of the others, and it'd be great to see Champ get back in the winner's closure at Cheltenham. But also Classical, to be honest, I'm not going to sit on the fence on this one, but I would say is one of them will win it out of the 2 of them. So that's all I'll say for the race. Now for the Friday, the Triumph hurdle to start the day for the juveniles, I've backed Phil Dorr at around 8-1, I think it was 6-1, quite a few months ago. He's now 5-2 favourite. The second favourite has been ruled out for the season during the week, so that will help Phil Dorr's chances. I think 5-2 is a little bit short for the race. I don't think the juveniles are a strong division at all this year. I think it's a very weak race when you compare it to last year. But I do think I've obviously got Phil Dorr at a much bigger price than he is now. But 5-2, I probably wouldn't be backing him at 5-2. I think he's still be my selection for the race. Don't get me wrong. Just feel like that's a little bit short. He does tick all the boxes for Gordon Elliott, and I love Davy Russell on the juveniles. I think he's really good on them, and his experience will be really good on the day at Cheltenham. I was on Zanna here last year, as many of you probably know. It was very disappointing on the day. He was probably one of my best bets going into the week, I would have thought. But Phil Dorr, he is my selection for the race. His 5-2 is too short to be backing him now, I would have thought, unless you're a massive lover with his. But there's not a lot else in the race, I'd say. Porticello, the Gary Moore horse, he's good, but he doesn't strike me as a standout horse. He's not like a Goshen or something. So I do think Phil Dorr, he probably just has that little bit of class edge over his other rivals in this. And I'm hoping the ground comes up softer on the day, as that'll be up his street. But he is my selection, but I just think the price is a little bit short for now. So I'll probably hold off on day because I can't see him going off any shorter, really. May even get a little bit bigger, who knows. But I do think he'll win the race. Now, the Albert Bartlett, really not a fan of this race. 3 mile novice hurdle. Always throws up an outsider. The form completely goes out the window every time, I think. Ginto's 5-1 favourites, guys. I was talking about him earlier for the Ballymore. If he turns up in this, I think it'd be interesting. It always goes to a bigger price. I have backed a horse called Freedom to Dream who's around 33-40 to 1. Now he came second to Eric Bloodaxe last time. Now that race that he finished second normally throws up the winner of this, like Vanillier ran in that race. I think Eric Bloodaxe and Freedom to Dream are both interesting horses to take out of that race into the Albert Bartlett. I'm purely going on patterns here. That race throws up the runners in that race normally run well in the Albert Bartlett. Now, I don't have a strong selection for the race. I don't really have an opinion on the race yet. I'll probably wait until the day to have a bet on the day, but it's just a race that never interests me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't really have a selection for races. It just doesn't interest me. I think it's better bets to have during the week. So I'm just going to leave that one for now. But on the day, I'll obviously have a selection for the race. Now, the main race of the week, the Gold Cup. All over Apputard to win it. He's best price 7-2. I think it's a great. I think he'll win it. I wouldn't be concerned about him getting beat by Galvin last time. He always wins and then slightly underperforms and comes second. So if you follow his career, he's due to win next time out, and that's mad to think like that. But I do think the Gold Cup will suit him more than that Leopardstown race did. Galvin got a great ride by Davey and just put a target on Rachel's back and just pipped him on the line. Apputard, he is a classier horse than Galvin. I actually backed Galvin to win National Ryanair Chase last year, so I do really like the horse. Just don't think he's not as good as Apputard, and just think Apputard. Henry Bromhead hasn't been in great form recently. I just think Apputard, I think he'll bounce back in the Gold Cup, as he ran a super race last year when I backed him. He finished second. I think he's the one they will have to beat. Galvin, he has every right to be second favourite now after his run last time. Just don't think he has that quite. I don't think he's quite classy enough to win the Gold Cup. But you never know. But my selection would be Apputard. Millet Indo's been massively disappointing, but he always runs well at Cheltenham Festival, so don't rule him out at all, because he could just turn up from being badly out of form. But there's not a lot else in the race. You have Protectorat, who's still yet to run since his very impressive win at Aintree. But there's another. He was a handicap, and I just struggle to see. There's a big difference between handicaps and grade races, obviously. It's like Chantry House. I said he would never win. He won't win any more races this season. And even though he was backed in King George, he was pulled up. He was terrible. I just don't rate that horse at all. So I would not be interested in him. And it just comes down to Galvin Apputard, and I think Apputard would definitely reverse form with Galvin. And I think he's one they will have to beat. Rachel will get on really well with him. I just think Apputard's the one they will have to beat. Now, a couple of I gave you a couple of handicap selections for horses to watch out for who I really like. Now, Langadan for the Martin Pipe I think you can get around 12 to 1 still for him. Now, he finished second, a clear second to Galopin Des Champs in it last year. He's been laid out for the race, I would have thought, by Skeltons again, who are very good with handicap hurdlers at Cheltenham. He hasn't raced since finishing second race last year, so his handicap mark won't have gone up too much. I just think he goes well fresh, and he seems a bit of a plot horse, and I reckon the Martin Pipe will be his main target this year, and they've saved him for the race. I just think at 12 to 1 it's definitely worth getting on, because if he has a prep race, runs well, I think the Skeltons factor will become really big, and he'll go off much shorter on the day. I don't see where else he'll turn up. I just think the Martin Pipe Langadan at 12 to 1 is a great selection. There's a 2 mile chaser called Before Midnight. A massive fan of his. He ran in the Shishkin race at Kempton on the 27th of December. Although he came fourth, he made the running, and they made too much use of him that day. He's never a graded horse. He's a handicapper, but he's similar to Sky Pirate last year. And just think, if he turns up he gets the Grand Annual, the 2 mile handicap chase. Before Midnight's definitely worth a bet. I think he's 14 to 1. I've got him at. I still think he's 14 to 1. I think that's the race they'll aim him at, and I think Before Midnight is definitely worth a bet. He's a very quick, good jumper at 2 miles over fences. I think he's quite an interesting horse for the race. Now, the final selection I'll give you for the National Hunt Chase is Run Wild Fred at 4-1. I backed him around 6, 7, 8-1, I think it was. I backed him a couple of times. Now, he just ticks every box for me. Gordon Elliott has a terrific record in the race. He's won half the last 6, I think, or something like that. Something he's just very good for the National Hunt Chase. Second season Novice Chase, he jumps very well. He stays very well. He's proven. I think he's better on better ground as well, which he should get at Cheltenham. His run last time behind Fury Road wouldn't concern me at all. I think it was a very good run. Only over 3 miles. He needs further. Fury Road won't want further than 3 miles. Statler might not even turn up. Lots of his rivals in markets right now might end up in the 3 mile Novice Chase against Gallop in the Champs. And just think if the race cuts up a little bit and Run Wild Fred ticks lots of boxes, then you'll be mad to go against him. So I think he's a very good price, 4-1. So guys, they're all my selections so far, looking ahead to the 2022 Cheltenham Festival. So hopefully you can get a couple of accumulators going with my selections, as I think there's quite a few strong selections now. I don't think the markets will change as much now. So obviously there's not many horses worth backing in a single. I said quite a lot of them are a lot shorter now, but definitely worth in the accumulator markets and multiples. So I'll be back again soon when the markets change a little bit after the Dublin Racing Festival at Leopardstown at the start of February. Give you some selections for that, and hope to get you some winners for the Cheltenham Festival. And it's only less than 2 months away now, so if you're looking to get all my daily horse racing tips as well, I usually have between 1 and 3 tips a day. Membership's only £20 a month. You can sign up on my website. There'll be a link in the description below. So please let me know if you have any questions, and thank you all for listening.